Hey guys, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back. If you have, my intention is unity and oneness in the highest levels of love light. This video is going to just be a little bit of a light language video. I say that out of surprise because I was like, what am I going to do? I wanted to talk about being not doubting ourselves and not being discouraged, but I'm going to go into a little light language first just because that's what I'm being called to do. And then we'll kind of see where this goes. Okay. Okay, this is meant to be felt, not necessarily understood on a linear basis. Whew. Uash ek emaha, ishiwa kua ishima, ok uahene. Ia titi ki shiki ahane ewahe. We use these sound signatures as a way to tune in to a frequency. And this frequency changes the chemicals of how the brain produces energy, or how the brain encapsulates and merges with this energy of frequency. For energy and frequency are one and the same, and yet, even though each and every one of us is one and the same with this higher frequency, or frame of existence, if you will, it is difficult at times to stay in this space, to drop in and feel with the deep confirmation what is meant to be felt and understood in comparison to that which we each consider normal. For the reality and the structure that we have each been templated into is now falling apart. And because this is the way it is, the way in which it is, we interact with this reality also feels as if it no longer holds the same comfort it once did. It no longer holds the same support it once did. For we are each being called to step out of our comfort zone and to find this deeper sense of who we are, to step out of that which we felt supported in before. And now, as we open the door and step through this threshold or over this threshold, we begin to hold more notes, sounds, songs. Notes is a play on words. We begin to feel into the template that is available to us now. And this creates a disturbance at times in our sense of well-being, in our sense of who it is that we think we are, in our sense of what we have available to us and what our resources consist of. And again, this comes back to the term support. For many felt as if they were supported, and yet now, because the old structure has lost its support, that which we believed in is also crumbling. And so we are being called to resurrect, if you will, to restore our sense of security through our own self-development, through our own ability to recognize that we are developing the self at a much higher and more consistent frequency, or a frequency that is consistently higher, or that which we are frequently consistently tuning into is trying to set us up for success. And this is all a play with words currently, because even the energies that I am tuning into as a channel are going through a reset, if you will. For the way in which I communicate as a channel is also shifting. The way in which I hear, feel, and tune into the information that I receive is changing. How I receive the information is changing, and the information that I have access to is changing. And it is doing so at an exponential rate, in exponential speed. And as I change my own rate of speed and frequency and vibration, I am able to access or tune into this in a different way and express it in a different way. And so as this shifts, morphs, and changes, it is difficult to convey what that looks, feels, sounds like. And we can take this into the description of our own everyday experience, for we are experiencing our experience in a different way. We are experiencing how it is that we connect with one another in a different way. And it can feel at times as if this way is out of alignment with our own sense of security. It is out of alignment with our own sense of who we are, and it is out of alignment with our own old establishments. And so that which has been established no longer holds the same interest points or intersections that it once did. We find ourselves intersecting at different points on a map than we used to. We may be taking a different route, if you will, for we are changing our system. I'm being called to share. Earlier in my previous video, I was seeing bubbles, and I was saying, okay, we were here, now we're there, now we're back, now we're forward. And what happens is we are changing our routes, meaning how it is we think is changing. So if you had a groove and that was our old route and that was our security line, and now it's been changed, all of a sudden we get a curve and we're like, wait a minute. And we're not even going to the same, we're not even having the same outcome that we used to in some cases. We're not having the same effects that we used to have, but other things aren't affecting us the way they used to either. It's a strange transition is what I'm hearing. And this has to do with the timing of this message. It has to do with where we're transiting in astrological alignments. It has to do with the transit of the sun. It has to do with our own femoral, lots of plays on words, the way in which we're feeling this. Because when we feel things a certain way, we interpret it a certain way. When we interpret a certain thing a certain way, we make judgments around that particular way or thing or feeling. And then because of those judgments, we'll say, we create our response or our how it is that we perceive reality based around those judgments. And so everything is kind of discombobulated right now. And so we're really being called to come back into our center as frequently as possible, the center of the circle, right? The center of the light. And because as this goes through upgrades and upgrade potentials, the more we can stay in openness and compassion and non-judgment of our experience, the more upgrades we have available to us. I'm being shown like a computer, and sometimes they'll say, don't turn it off while it's updating. And if you turn it off in the middle of it, like I see people going, no, this is too much. It almost has to, it makes it harder, or it takes longer to actually get the upgrades. And that's the easiest way to describe it. So staying in a place of questions of the self, meaning informing oneself, staying in a place of constantly being curious about how we are responding to our environment, asking, how do I feel in this moment? asking, what can I release right now as I realize what I'm feeling right now, is a very important tool for us to exchange with this frequency and energy as potently as possible. For as we exchange in a potent way, I'm being called to play with that. Okay, I'm just laughing. So we'll play with, because I'm hearing potential, potency, and potent. And then I'm hearing love potion number 9. I'm just laughing. There's so many synchronicities that just popped up because of this. But let me just tune into this a little bit more, and then I'm going to come back to the word potent. But I've got it up now, so I won't forget it. How many years did it take me to figure that out? As we play with this word, we invite all who are open to playing with words to see the relevancy from this word exchange. So we are exchanging currently with potency. And the more open and versatile we can be in this experience that we are currently undergoing through this upgrade, through this restoration, if you will, through this resurrection, we are being called to increase our potency by being compassionate and allowing ourselves to feel into this moment to moment energy exchange and shift. We are able to bridge the rift that we are currently and simultaneously feeling at times. So that's a play on words. Like, we want to come back to our center, and when we're in that push and pull, we feel the rift, right? Oh, that's a play on words with music, by the way, riff and rift. So we're feeling this pull and this, like schism, basically, in what we wanted and what we want now. I did want this, but now I want this. What we thought was real, what the guys were talking about, I don't know if I said that this video or a previous one, or what is really real, right? We're starting to discover things we were told aren't real, and things that we thought weren't real are real. That's confusing. That can be very unsettling, is what I'm hearing. And in amongst all of that, it's just an unsettled energy anyways. So we come back into the center, we come into a place of compassion, and this gives us the ability to be more potent and to feel into that. Now, when I tune into potent, I was called to look at potential energy. But potency, the etymology of the word is actually synchronistic, because I was having a beautiful conversation about women and men in the classical sense, and the word for potent is power. But for some reason, Sanskrit, it goes back to Sanskrit, which was master or husband. I just am laughing at the connections that I'm having, because one of the synchronicities that I'm having right now is the awakening of this divine feminine potency, this extremely creative and powerful and potent energetic force that many women are really starting to feel, and the men are picking up on. Now, this doesn't mean that the men aren't feeling this incredible creative force, or whatever you identify with as male or female. It's an energetic potency that is, if we can center ourselves as often as possible and feel, we can then tune into this potency and utilize it as a resource. And what the guides are essentially saying is, receive more activation, give more activations. So I just want to go into more words. Just power. Power. So potential energy, according to Wikipedia, in physics, potential energy is the energy held by an object. So whatever I was saying earlier, this is going to help make sense of it from my perspective. Is the energy held by an object because of its position relative to other objects. Stresses within itself, its electric charge, or other factors. Ooh, I could just do a whole video on this. Let's see where I'm being called to play with this, shall we? So I follow the rabbit trail, up and down the bunny trail, and see kind of where it guides me to. But I want to come back to that because I know there's going to be more on that, and just kind of stick with this flow. The potential energy that is held within the source field, or the ability to feel into the source of the field, the deeper connection that moves all things, that is the force field, if you will, moves through all things. Therefore, you are that inertia. You are that which creates the inertia. You are that which is the stream of energy. With focused intent and purity, creates an outer field, inner to outer, of potency. This potential is the factorization within the game piece that is key in moving, I'm hearing king me, queen me, in moving the chess piece forward on the game board. Now, we are speaking in code right now, but in simplicity, it just means we are up-leveling our frequency. If we can allow ourselves to feel beyond the distortions that are happening all around us, as I'm laughing, I'm hearing the labyrinth, and Jess and Candace will love this. As the world falls down from the labyrinth, the bubbles, anyways. And so while one reality is closing out, the other reality is closing in. And it can feel as if this polarization or this rift is pulling us in multiple directions. And while we can assure you it is at certain times, these chapters are in the process of rewriting themselves. And as we write the codes, I'm hearing the writing on the wall. It's the previous video I talked about. It's a reference to Paul Simon and Garfunkel, this writing in the subway walks. The prophets are written on the subway walks. We are the prophets, essentially, and we are prophetically and potentially choosing our future and profiting off that potential now as shareholders and co-creators of this reality. And the potentiality that each and every one of us carries is immense. And sometimes the vastness of that immensity, play on words, carries with it our old trajectory or our old resonance of previous encounters, which are memories embedded within our own system, network, bones, if you will, that were resourceful at certain times. And yet now it is time to process those memories, integrate them, and feel into the vast memory that we have connections to. So I'm being shown like the memories that are coming up for us might be of our childhood, right? They might be of our previous experiences or interactions we had with somebody that weren't very pleasant, and they left us feeling wounded. They left us feeling insecure. They left us feeling out of harmony with our bodies. Whatever it is, fill in the blanks, whatever it is for us, those are coming up, but we are simultaneously able to use this energy that we're experiencing now, this force, to move through that with force, with inertia. So we can actually work through these things much faster and in a much more forward directional pace is what I'm hearing. So we used to hear one step forward, 2 steps back. Well, now that may be the case for some people, but for a lot of people, it's just going to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And sometimes It's a moment that we have this remembrance, and it holds a different charge or spark for us than it used to. Like, we might have a memory about our dad that isn't necessarily pleasant, but all of a sudden it doesn't even hold water. Hello, hold water? Why do they say hold water? Memory. Water holds memory. So because we've changed so much, or we're feeling maybe compassion for ourselves in that moment, we're able to dissipate or dissolve that charge that memory might have held for us before immediately. And I'm hearing it immediately reduces it into a different signature, a different sound, a different vibration, a different feeling. And then it can help clear out that distortion, meaning the attachment that we have to that memory that made us think that because I had this experience with my father or mother, I'm always going to feel abandoned, not heard. I'm always going to feel like I'm not worthy. All of a sudden, it's no longer even an issue, even though we have the memory that it was an issue. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm seeing it. It's very cool. It's very exciting. Some of those will be very strong, and they will require us to stop, go within, and explore why this is coming up for us, so we can experientially know more of thyself. Once we process that, we are able to move through this new spectrum, which is a play on words, of light, energy, and sound, through a different harmonic availability. Whew. So this gains inertia as we each meet these challenges head, and I'm hearing head on, heart on. So we're moving, we're looking it straight in the eyes. We're not avoiding it anymore. We're realizing this, but we're not sticking. It's not sticking as much as it was, even though we might expect it to. So some of us are like, oh, I don't want to go there because it's going to stir all of this up. But on the flip side, it may not. It might stir it all up, and yet we're fine with it. Even though we feel like I should be triggered by this, yet I'm not. Cool beans. And so we then move into this, our next adventure. So I'm being called to go back and play with potential energy. So I want to read that one more time. The guides are saying potential energy is the energy held by an object, us, because of its position relative to other objects, stresses within itself, its electric charge, or other factors. So the stresses that are within us, okay, that might be even because of the position relative to our other objects or our relatives that are in position with us or other factors, are what is creating our potential energy. So the more we can come back to that compassion and feeling that experience and expression, that changes what obviously it changes our potentials. So our potentials, what was before our potency, has now up-leveled, I'm hearing quantumly, but it's gone through this quantum up-leveling. Everything is quantum, but they're playing with that word. It's big, right? It's expanded. Our sphere or ring of potential energy has grown. And if each and every one of us is doing this and accessing our abilities and potential abilities, imagine what that does for our reality. Imagine what that does for our new system. We are still going to hear I'm hearing plastic discharge from the old as it melts away. We're going to see the play unfolding. We're going to feel the heat a bit from that. And I'm also seeing like burning plastic, like it's gonna smell funky. It's gonna be like, ooh, I'm getting a lot of Labyrinth references, the bog of eternal stench. But it's not going to affect us in the same way because we have this inner sense and knowing that it's all going to be okay from a more quantum perspective because we're feeling into that quantum knowing versus just a 3D knowing based on what we've been told and what we've read about. We're actually like, but I feel different. So I might come back to that and really see where I'm guided to go because there's a whole other set of information I think that's right below this. So it's like underneath all of this, more is coming up. So when we turn the page and peel back that layer, we're like, oh, I didn't know this was here. Wow, this is new information. But notice when I did that, I was actually opening backwards. So it's like that page was stuck together and we skipped it. So now we're like, oh, I didn't read this before, but now we're ready to read it. We're finding new things. And by the way, this goes on with a code. We're finding new things in the earth. We're finding new ancient architecture. We're finding new manuscripts. We have access to things we didn't have access to before. And that's a whole other video on why. But now when we go back and look at this, we're going to read it differently than if we would have read it 5 years ago in the order that it was supposed to have been read. Because now we already know what the next page says. And we're going to go back and go, oh, all that kind of changes what I just read, or does it? And so we're being given the opportunity now that we know now, when we look back, are we still going to take that page with us? Maybe that information really isn't relevant, or maybe it is relevant and we're combining it with what we now know. I mean, it's a real play on words, you guys, about time and our relationship with time also. Like that is shifting drastically in case you guys haven't noticed. Okay. Wow. I don't know what's going on with my light, but I really like it. Okay. So as we tune into these energies and these cycles, old cycles are going to come to a screeching halt. The sound can be, I'm hearing like nails on a chalkboard. The sound can seem deafening, for that which is dying is letting out its last wail, its last hurrah, its last energetic attention grabber, if you will. And yet it seems that we are headed in the wrong direction because of this, hearing excruciating, that's a play on words, like a screw going through, excruciating information system that was set up originally to co-create with. So now we are invited as the creators of the new reality, as the front runners of this particular new system, to respond to the old system in a new way. As we respond to the old system in a new way, that which is trying to, I'm hearing outplay. So it's behind us, but it's trying to get ahead. It's trying to grab us to pull us back into it. And we're like, I don't think I want to play with you anymore. I think I'm done. And it changes our energetic relationship with the past. It changes our energetic relationship with our past memories, of our past circumstances, of our past affiliations, of our past desires. And it changes how we interact because of that change, how we change the future, and how much we have in this now moment access to in order to be the change we wish to see. For we now see this change within ourselves, which gives us the ability to see how far we've come, and it gives us the ability to project our reality in a much more coherent and compassionate state or essence of being. And this changes everything. So little quantum. Hopefully some of the stuff was simplified. In love and light, guys, I might do more videos to kind of pick this one apart a little bit, because there's so many layers to the wording that the guides, or that my future version of me is choosing to share. So in love and light, by the way, I took this picture of a light fixture. I thought it was really cool. Anyways, in love and light, guys, namaste.